Hello, everyone. We begin to study water pollution control technology today. Part 2 Knowledge Physical Treatment Technology of Sewage. Physical treatment technology of sewage is to use physical action, separation of suspended solid pollutants from sewage. It is the basic method of sewage treatment. Domestic sewage and industrial wastewater contains a large number of floating objects and suspensions. In the sewage treatment method, object of physical processing method is to deal with floating objects and suspended matter. The commonly used methods are as follows. First, sieve interception method. There are mainly screens, grids, filters, microfilters and sand filters. Second, gravity separation method, such as the grit basin, sedimentation tank, oil separation tank and air flotation tank. Third, centrifugal separation, centrifuge and cyclone separator. All the above methods belong to physical processing methods. Then let's start studying today. Grid and screen of the second part. Grill and its function. Grill, generally placed in the sewage flow channel or pumping station. Inlet of catchment basin, consisting of a set of parallel metal sieves or screens. What are the functions of the screen? It mainly has the following functions. First, intercept large suspended objects or floating objects. Second, reduce the load of subsequent treatment structures. Third, is to protect the subsequent treatment structure and water pump unit, not blocked by these floating objects. So let's take a look at this first. Grid slag and its removal method. First of all, we need to calculate the amount of grid slag. Then the amount of grid slag depends on the gap of grid strips, and the nature of sewage. Moisture content of grid slag. It is generally 70% to 80%. The bulk density of grid slag is 750 kg per cubic meter. Cleaning mode of grill. There are two ways of manual cleaning and mechanical cleaning. Manual cleaning is only suitable for small projects. Mechanical removal, suitable for large water plants with better sanitary conditions. Moreover, the amount of grid slag should be greater than 0.2 cubic meters. Types of grills. It can be divided into planar grid and curved grid. Planar grid. It is mainly composed of sieve strips and sieve frames. The gap size of the grill can be divided into fine grill, medium grill and coarse grill. The fine grill is less than 10 mm. The middle grill is 10 to 40 mm. Coarse grill is 50 to 100 mm. The installation angle is generally 60 degrees, 75 degrees and 90 degrees. The fixed curved surface grid. In the curved surface grid is based on the water flow velocity of the channel. Push the paddle plate to rotate. There is also a mechanical rotating cylinder grill. Then let's take a look at it next. Some design knowledge of grill. First, the design parameters and their regulations. Gap of front grid bar of water pump. It should be determined according to the requirements of water pump. Second, grating gap of front grill of water pump treatment system. 25-40 mm can be selected according to the manual cleaning method. Mechanical cleaning, 16 to 25 mm can be selected. The maximum gap of grid bar is 40 mm. Generally, sewage treatment plants can be equipped with coarse and fine grills. The gap between bars of coarse grid is generally 50 to 150 mm. For example, the clearance of the front grill of the water pump is not more than 25 mm. Sewage treatment system can no longer be equipped with grill. Fourthly, the amount of slag screened and the characteristics of the region, gap size of grill, sewage flow, and the type of sewer coefficient and other factors, can be based on appropriate information. Carry out corresponding design. If there is no corresponding information, then we can adopt. The following are some reference parameters for selection. Grill clearance can be selected from 16 to 25 mm. The amount of grid slag can be selected from 0.10 to 0.05 cubic meters per 1000 cubic meters of sewage. If the grill clearance is 30 to 50 mm, selectable sewage with grid slag amount of 0.03 to 0.01 cubic meters per 1000 cubic meters. then the moisture content of grid slag is generally 80%. The bulk density is 960 kilograms per cubic meter. Fifth, large sewage treatment plants, or large grill in front of pumping station. Mechanical grills are generally used. Mechanical grills should not be less than 2 sets. If there is only one, a manual clearing grill should be set up as a standby. The flow rate of the grid is generally 0.6 to 1.0 meters per second. The flow velocity in front of the grid, generally, it takes 0.4 to 0.9 meters per second. Installation inclination angle of grill generally take 45 to 75 degrees. It is generally 60 to 70 degrees in China. Head loss through grill generally 0.08 to 0.15 meters is taken. Between the grills, workbench needs to be set up half a meter above the maximum design water level in front of the grill, and set up safety and flushing measures. Aisle width on both sides of workbench between grills, not less than 0.7 meters. Width of front aisle of workbench, according to manual slag cleaning and mechanical cleaning methods. The general choice of manual slag cleaning is not less than 1.2 meters. Mechanical clarity should not be less than 1.5 meters. The power plant of mechanical grill should be located indoors in general, or use other protective measures to protect it. Installations and structures with grills. Good ventilation facilities must be considered. A tuning device shall be set in the grill room to carry out maintenance of grill and other equipment, and daily removal of grid slag. Let's take a look at some of the grid calculations. First of all, we have to calculate the number of gaps in the grid. Formula N for calculating the gap number of grid. It is calculated by the following formula. The lowercase n in this formula is the number of grid gap of grid. Then Q is the design flow. Alpha is the inclination of the grill. The number of grid groups designed for N, and B is the number of grid gaps. H is the water depth in front of the grid, and V is the velocity of flow through the grid. Let's calculate the width B of the grid slot. Calculate according to the following formula. Capital B is the slot width of the grid. S is the width of each grid bar. The head loss through the grid is calculated according to. Proceed with the following equation. Head loss H1 denotes head loss. Beta is the drag coefficient of the grid. The resistance coefficient is generally 1.67 to 2.42. A is the increase coefficient of head loss of grill blocked by pollution. Generally, the K value is 3. The third part, the calculation of the total height H value of the open channel behind the grid. The value of H is equal to H plus H1 plus H2. Capital H is the total height of the open channel. H2 is the height of the open channel. H1 represents water loss. The height H2 of super high song is generally taken 0.3 to half a meter. Fourth, the calculation of daily grid slag quantity, daily treated water flow Q, and the amount of grid slag per 1000 cubic meters of sewage per day. To calculate. That's all for our study today. Thank you all.